Very subtle music today.
There it is.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to What Drives Us, episode 296 for October 17th, 2018. I know. Can we revel in 296 for a second? No one cares.
Yeah.
We are so close to 300.
We're so close to 300 shows. Thank you. We've done this 295 times before, and I don't know how many of you have been there since the beginning, but thank you for even being there since last week. Thank you.
Yeah.
We have a ton of cool stuff to talk about. Let's introduce everybody and get this show on the road. Mr. What Drives Us Wingman. He is my friend in Chicago, Illinois, Mr. Tony Schaefer.
Hey, hi everybody. Once again, a shout out to everyone in Canada who's hanging out. Everyone who's legally toking tonight.
The only way we can get people to listen to the show.
Wait. What are we doing? Is there a giveaway that I missed? Because I didn't want to miss that.
Yeah. So hopefully it's just a matter of time before it spreads south.
There we go. Well, for those of you that aren't in Colorado, Washington, California, or Washington, D.C., yeah, hopefully it'll spread south.
Alaska, I think.
In Alaska, thank you. Yes, Alaska. Well done, Mr. Colorado. Speaking of Mr. Colorado, he is our friend at Boulder Hybrids in Boulder, Colorado, Mr. Paul Guzik.
Paul, that's you.
That's you, Paul.
Yes, sorry, my connection broke, and I was looking at my beer here. So I've got the one I haven't had before, agave wheat with a little crazy guy in the hat here from the Breckenridge Brewing Company in Breckenridge, Colorado.
Nice.
All right.
Agave wheat sounds really sweet.
I'll let you know what I think.
There we go. Okay. Cheers, Mr. Guzik. Next to him, my friend in the heartland, he just got his Model 3. That would be his third Tesla. For those of you keeping score, Dr. Evan.
Model 3.
Fecal transplant Fusco.
Yeah. We are accepting donors.
I got a donation for you, mister.
No, you say just got it. It's actually been about a month and a half already. I've got a little over 2,500 miles on it already. So, but definitely enjoying the Model 3. And then Paul's going to come out and take my Model S away for one last time and to greener markets in Colorado, hopefully.
Was that a pot reference just now? Are you insinuating something? Is there like a bag of something in the trunk if you buy it from Paul? Or
hopefully just a bag of used tires and nothing else.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, and I am. Let me share. So I just returned home about 2 weeks ago from Iceland, and Iceland has just started making their very own single malt whiskey. So you can't quite call it a Scotch because it's Iceland. So it's a single malt Iceland, but it's called Floki. It's even got, I don't know if you guys can read that, numbered by bottle out of each barrel and everything. So that's my drink of choice this evening.
Is it good?
Actually, it's quite good. It's much sweeter than a traditional Scotch, and definitely without the peatiness. But it's a really nice flavor. It's nice. Very drinkable.
Nice. Well, last and certainly not least, because his nation is certainly center spotlight in today's news, our man in Canada, Mr. Mark Coughlin.
It's very foggy up here today for some reason.
Do you have that picture of what Canada looked like this morning again?
I don't, but I'll show it up later.
There we go. Yeah, it'll show up later.
Yeah. But so welcome everyone to the show. Evan, has anyone given you the 3 symbol when they drive by you in your Model 3?
Oh, no.
No.
No?
No. Is that a thing?
That's a thing. That's a
I don't
thing.
know. I'm usually going too fast to notice anyway.
Ah, that's the problem. Okay. You get a pass.
Oh no! There's a symbol now. What's the S symbol?
It's the outward. It's the outward 3. It's not this. It's this.
The upward 3.
No way. All right.
Yeah.
Like that?
I think in Britain this is an insult.
Yeah.
That's Italian.
They usually give me that one just without the
right. Yeah. You get
without the bracket.
Without the brackets.
I'm sure that's what they mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. I got to do a news story, or we're going to lose everybody. It's sort of retro news, and we hope Paul's going to come back and join us. He apparently dropped off. Maybe his connection went bad. Patrick Connor, one of our regular panelists, wanted to mention this, that you had until Monday, October 15th, and maybe you can still sneak in under the wire, but Tesla's pretty much laid out the line. If you want to get the full $7,500 tax credit, you better have your Model 3 on order by Monday. Today's Wednesday. That was 2 days ago, so you already missed it. But
now
you can sneak in.
Yeah, that was the guarantee. You know, he said he pretty much guarantee.
Yeah, pretty much guarantee.
But then said it's possible that, you know, maybe if you're not in by the 15th, you could still get it by the end of the year. So that was just sort of the target.
Yeah, you know, Tesla reasonably kind of laying down some expectations for customers, and that's a good thing.
And if it's not the end of the world, you know, it just means that the 7,500 incentive cuts in half, which is
$3,750.
$3,750. I had to do math off the top of my head, and that was hard.
That's math even this art major can do.
So we figured from that date that about 55,000 more cars could be built, give or take, you know, 5,000 or so here or there, plus whatever are built and not yet sold currently, which, you know, nobody really knows how many that is. So some bean counter got down to the nitty gritty and decided that's what they could deliver. So, you know, by how many people would purchase in that time window. So we'll see. I would bet you've got a couple more weeks that you probably will get it by the end of the year, but I certainly wouldn't wait till the last minute.
I would think that. I wonder if someone
this is where we flash up Evan's email address.
No.
We gotta get Mark in on this, man. I've got my 6 referrals, and Patrick's got his 6, and we gotta get help out Mark. He's a sad little Tesla owner in Canada.
Why am I a sad owner?
Wow.
He's not sad. He's got
stuff yet.
Unlimited weed availability.
Yeah, there's that. Legal weed. Which I don't think Mark cares about. I'm just.
No, I'm not a smoker.
Yeah,
No.
see, there you go.
It comes in other forms.
No gummy bears for you.
Anything.
Just saying. No
Gummy bears are
There's the Canadian Diete Pepsi with infused
CBD Pepsi.
with a little extra bump. Yeah.
Sprinkle a little bit as garnish on your poutine.
That's horrifying. Okay, well, back to the news. First story was actually submitted by 2 people this week. 2. Not just Paul, but Evan wanted to talk about the same thing. So I'm gonna arbitrarily say Paul can intro it, and then Evan can jump in.
I mean, it was an interesting announcement. Google Maps now includes charging search feature, kind of like PlugShare, although not nearly as good, at least today. But it's kind of cool that they're taking charging. You know how you can search for gas stations and search for restaurants. Now you can search for charging stations. Like I said, it's a little weak today, but you know, some of the comments here in the article, people are saying, well, why didn't Google just drive the money truck up and buy PlugShare? Because they've got a hell of a database and a hell of a user community. But I guess they're going to try and grow theirs organically, or copy the data, or get other people crowdsourced it.
I'm with those questioners. I don't understand why they're not buying out PlugShare. And the question I've had all along, and that I keep looking for, what I really want when I'm traveling is hotels that have chargers. And that is still a challenge to find. And if you go to hotels.com, they don't have a feature, Expedia, none of them, that you can use the filters to find hotels that have chargers. I don't know why the hell that is, that you'd think there would be pressure from the hotels to attract that clientele, and it's still not out there. So I would hope that this is a little tip of the iceberg with Google providing this feature that perhaps that will become integrated into the search abilities when you're searching for a hotel and things like that, because that's a big deal. If you're traveling and you want to spend the night, you can supercharge, but a lot of times I just want to show up and plug in and go to bed.
I tried to do a search for hotels with charging stations near me, and I didn't get anything specific. But you can see I did a search for charging stations near Chicago. I would like to think that there are actually more than this. Oh, and you see, the map does change and different ones show up as I zoom in. So,
if I can I'll take this conversation off on a tangent. So you guys know that I bought a scooter late last year, a little 125 scooter, not freeway legal, but I love it. Gets me everywhere I need to go. But if I use Nav, I have to use the bicycle route, which means it sends me on bike trails. Now, sometimes on some of the mobile navs, I want to say it's Google Maps maybe, that allows you to avoid highways, which is an old thing. But even that's a little sketchy sometimes.
You could say you're pedestrian.
You could
route you on the sidewalks,
right? And then I'll be down hiking trails. But it's things like this that, again, Evan's really good point of why don't they have a button for charging in a hotel? That's not that uncommon. It's not that crazy. Why don't these nav things have a setting for not going on the freeway at all, not going on a bike trail,
Right.
I mean, there's only going to be more of these little scooters around. So things like this, hopefully these software companies will start incorporating this stuff into it, because it's not like the Rand McNally Atlas that we've got to wait for a reprint,
Right.
If online services have any value at all, that might be it.
But to the people running Google, just go and buy PlugShare. It's pocket change for you guys, and roll it in.
Why do you think they should buy PlugShare and not develop their own database?
Well, because it's going to take them a couple of years to get anything even close to what PlugShare has.
Yeah,
unless they crowdsource the whole thing.
PlugShare's been building for almost a decade. What they've got, it's a really nice interface. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I love it.
Why they would go out and try to reinvent the wheel. They've got so much stuff that's been contributed by users over time that's highly valuable. There's a lot of detail
and fresh data, like this charger's down today.
There's photos of each charger already. There's a lot of great stuff there. I think it would be silly to start from scratch.
Yeah, they're basically buying the database. Is what they're doing.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. No argument. I agree. PlugShare is wonderful. I'm almost a little happy that maybe Google hasn't bought PlugShare yet, and maybe PlugShare will flourish and make Google look silly.
Yeah, and then my prediction is, 5 years after Google has, mastered their plugin part, then Apple will start building their own.
Right. Yeah, maybe, but it'll have to go by Johnny Ive, look pretty rather than be functional. And on that
maybe
note,
Apple will buy PlugShare.
Maybe Apple will. That they certainly, again, they have cash too, oddly enough, just like Alphabet.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Mark Coughlin has our next story about electric car deliveries.
Yes, indeed. A new car has reached the U.S. market just recently.
Yeah.
The Jaguar I-Pace has been delivered to its first customer in Florida. I don't think they were around the hurricane then.
Just your average blue-collar family there.
Yeah. Definitely. This family picked up was delivered to the car to their place. And
Is that garages on both sides of the driveway?
that appears to be so.
It does
Yes, it
appear
is.
to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I'm sorry, I was staring at the columns on the front door.
Sure you
Yeah.
were. Mhm.
And this is no ordinary family, as you can see from not only the garages, but this will be their 7th Jaguar.
Wow.
So, yeah, they've got
Yeah.
some disposable income, obviously. But they're the proud recipients of the first Jaguar I-Pace in North America.
That's
Before
cool.
they're
There's
even for sale.
one does exist in real life.
One does exist. In fact, there's over 1,000 of them delivered, according to the article. Obviously in Europe and Asia, but this is the first one that's arrived and sold in the U.S.
Oh.
So, well, and here's the good thing: it's another EV that has come to the U.S. shores, and it's another one that will be available, if not in great numbers, at least. There are some available, and this gentleman it's his first electric car, and hopefully it becomes infectious and he loves it, and he'll buy another. Like the rest of or the most EV owners typically have always said they will never go back to a regular gasoline car. So hopefully Jaguar will be able to convert people to electric just as the other electrics have done so.
Oh, that's awesome.
So Eric in Norway just chimed in and said there are lots with hundreds of them waiting for delivery in Norway.
No.
Yeah, that's what he wrote. I mean, I can't back it up. I'm sure he can, but I'm just reading what he wrote.
Well, Norway's a big market for Tesla, so
Yeah, big market for everything EV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. And we've long on this show said more consumer choice is better. More choices are better. Not cheering for any one company, but that great. So now Jaguar's got a high-end, electric SUV. Cool. That's fine.
although one problem with Jaguar is it's a pretty small brand. I mean, what do they have? 100 dealers in the country or something?
This guy's got 6 other ones. I don't think he's got any problems getting service. But yes.
Yeah, but that's a concern from my point of view. Is if you buy one of these really exotic cars and it breaks, well, I guess if you're buying a car like this, you have 6 other somethings you can drive when it's in the shop. But you may have to drive 200 miles to get it serviced.
Oh, I bet he has his butler drive it.
Yes.
The
And
article,
that's the butler's house. The big house is in a different photo.
right? Because they didn't want to look too opulent, so they had the picture taken in front of the
So
butlers.
remember, I was 220 miles from service for the first 4 years I had my Model S. So,
Did they ever send a Tesla Ranger to you?
yep,
Oh, yeah.
all the time.
Yeah, he had pictures. I remember seeing them.
We've heard Evan talk about that. I mean, and again, this is, you know what? If Jaguar is going to expand its dealership based on electric vehicle sales, what could be better? Like that would be fantastic. Hey, we're selling these things and we need to expand. That would be great. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not, but there it is anyway. Next up, Tony has some story about and more reasons why people may be buying electric cars soon.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't ready. I was replying
I'm
to
sorry,
David in the
Tony.
chat room. He asked, talking about the guy with the all the Jaguars. Said, is he a dealer? And I was going to say to have a house like that in Florida, I'm pretty sure he might be.
He owns a mortgage company.
Okay.
Just FYI, I stumbled across that doing some reading. So yeah.
Also, for the international people, if you didn't catch the reference to dealer, yeah, not a car dealer is what I was going with.
Watch Scarface.
You watch Scarface.
Watch
Exactly.
You understand? Yeah.
That's the definition of Florida dealer.
So it turns out that there is actually a Republican senator, which blew my mind, who is proposing a bill that would maintain the $7,500 U.S. tax credit instead of capping it at 200,000 cars, which we were just talking about Tesla will reach by the end of this year. Or no, they already reached it, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they already reached it, and then it's one more quarter at 7,500, and then it cuts in half. Instead of doing 200,000, they'll extend it up to 4 years under this new proposal. Now, the article is kind of thin on details because when you say up to 4 years, the question is 4 years from what? And that's what I couldn't get out of this article. 4 years from when you start selling the car, which if it takes someone more than 4 years to sell 200,000 cars, then that kind of punishes them. But if you're cranking them out like Tesla, then 4 years is a lot of cars. So you see where this gets kind of confusing.
Well, doesn't that incentivize the manufacturer to make cars as quickly as they can and get them on the market?
I would think it would, yes. But I would think watching Tesla eat your market share would incentivize them just as much. Yeah, that was me being flippant.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I supposed to?
Oh, you said. Well, you said. I thought you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to add it. So it's no mystery that this is a Republican-sponsored venture in that it's Senator Dean Heller from Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
What company builds cars in Nevada? Not Faraday Future.
Well, they don't build cars; they build batteries.
Actually, not even Tesla, really. But again, that's Heller knows which side of his bread is buttered by Tesla, and it's certainly giving a big boost to Tesla doesn't hurt him, and helping GM.
And there's not a lot of oil and gas in Nevada as well.
Oddly enough, you're right. It's gambling, batteries, and brothels.
Yeah. And legal weed, I think, now, too.
And legal weed, yeah. Legal weed.
Yeah.
So, interestingly enough, last week, Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming, which is a what are they large producers of?
Oil and gas.
Oil and gas. Yeah. It's so funny how that works. He is proposing legislation to kill the EV thing completely and impose a new tax on EVs.
Right.
Unless you drive a diesel truck and you roll coal, then you get it.
Then you get a rebate.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So, all of these things are political to the point. We just, in this show, I think we're all pretty much on the same side of, wow, that's a good idea. Let's encourage people to buy EVs.
Right.
Am I wrong?
No. I should say the one thing that I missed is Heller's bill lifts the individual manufacturer cap, but starts the phase out of the credit for the entire industry starting in 2022. So 4 years from now, there would be no incentive whatsoever.
Which means Faraday Future will never get an incentive on any of the cars they sell.
Yeah.
Which is probably putting it mildly.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it does, to Russell's point, it does highlight when you look at what the two senators from two different states who are paid quite possibly by two different industries, how they really push bills to defend their pockets, I guess.
Sure. Every politician does. The mayor of your local town fights the other mayors of their local towns for businesses to come there, just as your state does, just as your federal. I mean, in a limited sense, that's healthy. But yeah, again, obviously, if that's all they do is.
Well, yeah, I could see that. Bringing, industry and maybe jobs and a tax base. But when we're looking at phasing out fossil fuels and diesel and going towards a sustainable, reusable energy source and cars that don't pollute, I know, like you said, we're all on the same page here. We're singing to the choir. But I would really like to think that people would be on the side of let's do what's best for the constituents and make sure they don't die as quickly.
But the constituents in Wyoming are happy to continue to pull oil out of the ground. That's where they get paid from.
Yep. Absolutely.
So it's regional.
And they don't care.
And they don't care.
They don't care.
So there, I just looked around trying to figure out what the details were of this, trying to find that. So the closest I can find is that Heller is, quote, preparing a bill. like I'm skeptical that he has any intent of actually writing a bill. He's going to be preparing up until November 6th. And
you're not saying that this is all a cheesy election gambit by a Republican who doesn't really care.
Of course I wouldn't say.
Okay, good. I didn't think he was
like that.
I
mean, there's nothing. There are no details. There's no bill. There's no proposed bill. There's no anything anywhere.
Geez. Are you saying that this is just a bad marketing concept car? It's never going to get produced.
Yeah. I mean, maybe. Yeah.
I'm saying there's a good chance Dean Heller isn't in the Senate next year.
He's not even an elected official.
I'm here to tell you. Go vote November 6th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, geez, we've seen this from a lot of, without getting too political, we've seen this from a lot of, whether it's Governor Scott Walker or Senate candidate Martha McSally, suddenly progressive causes are all the rage among Republicans, which is odd when you think about it. But there it is.
Yeah.
Well, if you oppose the Wyoming senator, I just shared a link. I don't know if someone can put it in the show notes. You can write to your state senator if they're part of the Senate Finance Committee and say you support the EV tax credit.
Oh, there you go.
And there's a boilerplate you can cut and paste and email. Some of the states, Colorado's involved, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, more than half the states. Well, maybe not half, but Washington. Surprisingly, California isn't on the list. Missouri is, Evan. So
yep,
there you go.
And I just flipped this into the What Drives Us Flipboard magazine. So if you use Flipboard as an aggregator and you're looking for the link, go to the What Drives Us magazine and you'll find it there.
And apparently, anytime you email a senator or call their office, it's equivalent to like 1,000 people, because no one ever takes the time to do it. So they do listen when you do send them messages.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, guess what? If you actually interact with these politicians, sometimes it has an impact.
Yep.
As opposed to not doing it, which guarantees no impact whatsoever.
At least until big oil drops off the suitcase of $100 bills.
Right. And if you interact with these politicians with a suitcase full of $100 bills,
you get whatever you want.
Yeah.
Anything. Well, speaking of getting whatever you want, Tony has another story that really is kind of hits me where I live.
I wanted to talk about this just for Russell.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Primarily because there is this picture here.
Uh-oh.
That
Tony, you're not gonna put porn up, are you?
Just Flufferbot.
Oh, Flufferbot, cool.
Yeah. So I wanted to just show how this refers to Russell so much. You see the 50 and over U.S. motorcycle ownership by age going up and up and up. Sorry, that was an ageist joke.
No, it was, but I don't think...
Is that because older people have no money to buy cars?
No.
Or they're more risk-taking now?
No. Having done
a
little back
Go
research
ahead.
on this, what this is actually a really scary graph of when your product... Oh, can you put that back up, Tony?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. No, that's okay. This is a really scary graph of what happens when young people don't care about your product. And your ownership base gets older and older and older and older. You're not necessarily grabbing new people. What it is you're losing younger people, so your ownership base ages out. Harley is on the precipice of losing, of where a good portion of their owners are in their 50s and 60s and past the point where they're going to buy another motorcycle.
Right. And they're acting like it's still the 1970s when all of these people were in their 20s and 30s.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And for years, the Japanese companies have copied the big American bikes because it was super profitable. It's like making big trucks. Anyway, so
I think the reason is the millennials it's a lot harder to text and drive on a motorcycle than in a car.
Well, that might be.
I honestly, Paul, I'll tell you what, it's my opinion, and I don't have any research to back this up. It is my opinion. It's because none of these manufacturers have built a bike that younger people will want. They've been building bikes for the baby boomers who have tons of money and will spend 20 grand or more on a bike, and they've totally ignored all these other groups. And look at the music business. You know, when the music business got pissy with young people because of Napster, rather than selling them files, they started taking them to court and all of that. What happened? There's a whole generation of people now who don't buy music and won't ever.
Right.
That's how you kill your product category.
But we do have this image, which, by the way, at some point we should probably talk about the article where these images are coming from. But what you see is the average age is going down and down and down. But you see there are more women purchasing motorcycles, at least up until 2014, where this chart ends. Now you may be wondering, well, what is it? Am I still presenting? Okay.
No.
So you may be wondering, what is it we're kind of hinting at? And this was an article that was given to us in Facebook. And Russell, help me out. I forgot who I wanted to give credit.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Attention. I'll look it up.
Thank you.
But this was from RevZilla.com, RevZilla Motorsports. They have a bold prediction that electric motorcycles will take 3 to 5% of the U.S. market share. They said over the next 5 to 10 years. So what we're driving at here is you have an aging market for motorcycles, but a growing number of women purchasing motorcycles. So what you could do to try to get the kids excited about owning two-wheeled vehicles is to electrify them. And certainly, not to try to downplay, women or whatever, but perhaps more women would buy motorcycles if they were electric and not loud and messy and whatever.
Oh, that wasn't sexist.
I was trying not to be sexist.
I'll just say that I think the big problem is, again, motorcycle companies have been building motorcycles for boomers for years, for decades. And that's worked out well for them. The problem is now that group, that generation is aging out, and suddenly they don't have product to sell to other people. And yeah, is it going to be different? I think electrification would be huge. I think really looking at at medium-sized bikes, which is a completely ignored product category for street bikes. Looking at medium-sized bikes, looking at the price of the bike to bring them down, because not everybody wants to spend $20,000. Nowadays, these purchasing decisions are coming to the point where if you're going to spend 20 grand, they're going to buy a car. Yeah. They're not going to buy a Harley. So sorry. Yes, but electrify.
Yeah,
yes.
I completely agree. If they hit the medium size range, and especially electrification, it would need to be a big, beefy, oversized, V6 or whatever these things are. And besides the motorcycle, I don't know motorcycles.
6 or whatever these things are.
Whatever.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. But you would think that, maybe these aren't the motorcycles that you ride, across country like our friend Ben does.
Right.
But around town, this would be a great way for people to ride around town in.
Most people don't ride across country. You know what I mean? It's a weekend thing. It's a second vehicle for a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Again, maybe that's the kind of thinking that's keeping them out of the younger market. I don't know. Maybe young people want to ride it every day. God bless them if they do. That would be great. So, okay, I feel like I'm beating this thing just because it's like my thing. Tony, I'm going to go to you for the third story in a row.
Yeah. So, Inside EVs has an article about Audi's U.S. EV plan. Another indication that OEMs aren't on board. And I mean, we've talked about this before. We've beaten Audi on this. They came out, they showed their car, like, we're going to sell this. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be great. And then a week later, we found out that, well, you really have to order it first. And then maybe it might be a year before you get it. And they'll make it whenever they damn well feel like it. And even then, you have to go to the dealership to put down a deposit and then go pick it up. And this article, I shouldn't say actually does a good job, but this article does a good job of pointing out how any current mainstream manufacturer who's working through a dealership network is proving that they're not really serious about this, because for years we have been railing on how dealerships simply do not want to or enjoy selling electric vehicles. Much worse if you show up and say, I want to put $1,000 down on a car that you're going to bring me in a year. That's not how dealerships typically work.
Mm-hmm.
You could try to compare it to Tesla.
Typically work. Yeah,
that's how. What'd you say?
I said that's not how car buyers typically work. Although
Right.
Tesla has broken that.
Tesla broke that. Tesla, you could try to compare it to Tesla and say, well, Tesla took $1,000 down and people waited for their car, but they didn't have to go through dealers to get that.
Right.
But they could give the dealer like half the commission when they get the deposit, to incentivize them to sell the EVs that are in the future. Because I agree, you walk in and say, I want to buy a car that I won't get for a year, they're going to try damn hard to sell you something on the lot today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if there was some mechanism for them to get paid for selling you the reservation, then maybe they'll sell you the reservation instead.
There are ways to sell electric cars. Tesla's done it.
Mm-hmm.
Nissan's done it. GM has done it. So the point isn't that it can't be done. The point, I think, the takeaway from this Inside EVs article is that Audi's not really trying that damn hard. And when you read the quote from Audi of America President Scott Keig, let me read it to you, please. And it begins, quote, I think it would be a beautiful world if you can go to a dealer, and we'd like to find that beautiful world with zero floor plan expense and proper full gross on the car. Quoth he? Who the hell wrote this? The quote continues, this would be a beautiful state, so let's go see if we can find this dream state. You know what, asshole? But I just that kind of like that sort of like cynical sarcasm shows me that you're full of shit. You don't care about selling this car. It's a halo car at best, and
But
you'll enjoy the success you deserve.
Yeah, I mean, we know what a CEO who's invested would say. They would say, we're going to make this car. We're going to put at least one of these cars in every one of our dealerships, and we're going to invite customers to come in and drive them. And if they enjoy it, then we'll take a deposit and we'll deliver their car to them. I mean, that's what someone who's serious actually does. That's what they say. They haven't even gotten close to that.
No, I mean, look what GM's done. Well, I don't want to insult the entire GM dealer network, but please, but GM's done fine with Volt and Bolt. They've done really well. Audi can certainly do no worse, but yes, they can if they don't care. Hey, speaking of Audi not caring, guess who just got fined almost $1 billion in Germany over diesel emissions?
Oh,
VW Audi?
Their name is Audi.
Yeah.
Yeah, 925 million. It was 800 million euros. Audi was fined for diesel emissions scandal. The Volkswagen diesel scandal just continues to go on. And let's be realistic, it is much even bigger than this.
That's pretty impressive, that because they're kind of the same company, right? But they actually find each entity separately.
Yes.
You know that one rogue engineer, after he was found out, he went over to Audi and worked there for a few months.
And then he went to Porsche.
Right. He was part of the knowledge distribution initiative in which they move people throughout the different arms of the company. Yeah.
So the Mega Millions lottery is almost exactly that amount. Coincidence?
That
They
was
told
on
all
his
their U.S.
penalty.
executives to go buy tickets for the lottery.
Yes, definitely.
That's so funny. Do you have a ticket, Evan, or?
No, but you know what? I won $500 on the Mega Millions last night.
Wow.
Are you serious?
I'm totally serious.
Oh my God.
I never play. I like until it gets like ridiculously high because I enjoy the fantasy. So it's worth $20 to me to go home and fantasize for.
Because then you could buy that home in Florida with garage on each side of the driveway.
Exactly. Hell, I'm gonna get a garage on 4 sides of the driveway.
I'm just going to live in a garage. It's just going to be an 8-car
and an
garage.
iPace in every garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not? That's what's
Hey,
a real car lover
before
would
we
say.
move on, this would be a good time to take a break and have a word from our newest sponsor, the Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Audi VW. Oh, crap.
They just canceled the contract.
Oh, that check's not going to cash now, is it?
I admit I haven't read this. That 925. Where does the money go? Are they going to have requirements for building out an EV
Mega
network? Or
Millions.
anything?
I think it said right here, it goes directly into the Mega Millions lottery.
Well, I think it goes to Angela Merkel, doesn't it? She just gets that. I mean, that's part of the deal. You're chancellor.
Yeah, that's a perk.
Yeah, it's a perk.
It is-
It's like, yeah.
That is a really good question. I mean, that's a lot of money. Where?
Yeah, I mean, it's $1 billion. Because when the VW thing came out, they were required to help, invest a certain amount towards building up that EV network and things. I mean, $1 billion would go a long way.
That was a negotiation between VW and the EPA.
So Audi just said, "Fuck it, we're paying the $1 billion."
The German government would be the one that they would have to negotiate with.
I think Audi's just going to show up with a $925 million check and just burn it in front of people and say,
Right. You bastards. You bastards. I don't know how they're going to spend it. And you know what? I will give Germany as a nation credit. They've done a lot of good things for sustainable energy. They've made a lot of progress. So hopefully they'll put this money to further that, whether it's subsidizing solar or whatever, or electric vehicles. Good for them. Hey, and how crazy would it be if they're subsidizing electric vehicles that aren't even made in Germany? That's probably not going to happen. There'll be a lot of e-Golf sales or something, but you know how that works.
Yeah, but I mean, it would be most awesome if they turned around and took 800 million euros and put it towards EV subsidies.
Absolutely. And sort of dovetailing into this, there was a report in the Washington Post this week, whose headline is entirely depressing. And the headline is, and I quote, "Few countries are meeting the Paris climate goals. Here are the ones that are." Let me read to you the ones that are meeting the Paris Agreement. Are you ready? Morocco.
I'm here all night.
Morocco, Gambia, Bhutan, Costa Rica, Ethiopia, the Philippines, and interestingly enough, India.
Wow.
So
everybody else is sucking.
So there's about 193 countries in the world, and so far we've got 7.
Yeah. So go out, buy that dually turbo diesel, roll coal on every Prius that you pass. Just dump an extra 10 gallons of diesel in the bed of the truck. No big deal. I don't know what to say other than shit's going down.
Well, sell your two garage house in Florida because it's going to be underwater in a couple of years.
Well, there's that. Yeah, it's going to be a 2 jet ski garage.
I know where you can get 7 Jags cheap.
Yeah, slight water damage.
Yeah.
That's all I really got. That article's just too depressing to talk about.
Yeah.
Suffice to say. And finally this week, well, at least finally on the schedule, there's always Mark Coughlin to deal with.
Always.
Tony has one more bit of news.
I do. And this was something that we were talking about, was it last week or the week before? How close is Tesla to opening a factory and building in China for at least the Chinese market, and then also other Asian markets? And Electrek Fred Lambert posted October 17th, which is today, that Tesla secured 210-acre land for Gigafactory 3 in China, and says they're on track with accelerated construction plan.
Yeah. No, Tesla did not buy this. They're leasing it. They have a 50-year lease on this land, so good for them.
Yeah.
Now all they have to do is get all the money necessary to build another factory. Can I complain about something? Oh yeah, it's my show. I don't complain. So here's the picture that accompanies the electric story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This building doesn't even exist.
Right.
It's
Okay.
an artist rendition.
Somebody worked really hard to render that 5 years ago, and they get royalties every time it's used.
Yeah, I don't, but I'm sure the new Gigafactory is going to look just like that someday.
No, isn't it? I thought it was going to look like pandas on top.
Oh no,
No, that's the other solar.
that's the solar array. That's all I got this week.
I don't know, but if they do get this factory up and running, and in one of the things Tesla said, construction begin in the near future, it will take roughly 2 years until they start producing vehicles, and then another 2 to 3 years before it's fully ramped up to produce around 500,000 vehicles per year for Chinese customers. In Elon time, that's 2029.
Well, not really. I mean, China can really move on projects like this. I mean, they have tons of workers, less red tape, less environmental concern. They'll just throw 10,000 workers at it and build it quick.
Yeah, they will. So yeah, I mean, if they can do this, and if they can hit 500,000 vehicles a year, I mean, that'll be China and India, Japan, I guess, everything, Australia, New Zealand, everything in that region.
Yeah.
That would be great for them.
Absolutely. Definitely cheering for him. Mark, I gotta think there's
I was able to rummage that photo of Toronto this morning.
Oh, Toronto this morning, live from Canada, folks.
Here we go.
Oh, wow. Holy shit. That's actually a real one.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh my God.
Wow.
That is not. Are you serious?
And as a chaser at the top, best Toronto tequila bars.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Wow.
How do you even?
It is a party, let me tell you.
Stand there second.
Wow.
I think the headline tomorrow will be Canada's productivity goes off the rails.
National holiday.
National holiday, yep, exactly.
It's a new national holiday, folks. Wow. Well, thank you for that.
And a shout out to Newfoundland, where pot first became legal in Canada.
That's right.
The
Yeah.
most eastern time zone.
There we
Yeah.
go.
A half hour in front of any other Canadians.
Our friends in Newfoundland always leading the way. Thank you, Newfoundland. Thank you. We love you. We do. That's all I got. Anybody else? Nothing?
Nope.
Let's do some shout outs and go home then. I would consider this a good night's work. Dr. Evan, do you have any fecal transplant links?
No. Be a donor. No, my shout out is to Paul Gusick, who is flying in on Saturday to pick up my Model S and take it to Colorado, hopefully to be sold in a market where it will do better than Missouri. And as we discussed,
Should I drive an F-150 to Missouri? It's just from Colorado.
Carbon offset.
Well, is that any worse than the flying in an airplane? I don't know. But discussing our concerns about you thrashing the car on the way there, we just said, I'm going to put it in valet mode before you go, and so
what's that? Limited to 22 miles an hour.
On the interstate.
He'll be like, it took me 4 days to get back to the Boulder.
Well, it'll be, I've actually never driven a Tesla long distance, so it'll be interesting to do the whole supercharger thing along the way, because it is about an 850-mile trip. So
yeah,
I'll have a report next week.
The worst leg is going to be your first one, from getting from here to Kansas City, and from there it should be a breeze.
No, driving from Kansas City to Denver is never a breeze.
Well,
it's
no,
the most
but
boring drive in the world.
At least for the supercharging aspect of it, it'll be a breeze.
Okay.
No, I think he's just talking about getting the hell out of Missouri.
Yeah, so a little preview. Anybody in the Boulder, Denver area looking for a used Tesla owned by a celebrity panelist on the show, it will be here in less than a week in Boulder.
Evan,
I'll even autograph the visor for you.
No, the glove box. Isn't that what you're
Oh, is it the glove box? Okay.
Yeah, it'll be an autographed edition. I wonder if that'll be like, okay, you're going to take 500 off for that, or you're going to add 500
or 5,000.
Yeah,
because he's a doctor, so no one will
just
even
don't
know
leave
what
any
it says.
fecal matter in the glove box.
Yeah,
No promises.
No donations, no transplants there.
Pictures and videos, guys. We have to see pictures and videos.
That's not. Hey, Tony, if you see any good show titles in the chat room, please let me know.
Oh yeah, guys. Yeah, I forgot. Show titles.
Show titles. So let's see. That was Evan. Paul?
Just boulderhc.com if you need your hybrid or EV fixed or sold or need to purchase a car, check us out.
There you go. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Coughlin.
Just a shout out to the Waterloo Region EVA, and thanks everyone for joining us tonight. And I've got many things to do after the show.
Going down to the corner weed store.
Wow, is that ambiguous? I did not expect that. I'm flabbergasted.
I'm gonna shoo all those people in front of my house.
That's what
I was gonna say, you're gonna go
clear
through
the haze to get out the door.
It's good. I gotta plug in a whole bunch of fans. All sorts of stuff has to happen.
I hope you have a breath mask, because
because you are going to get the effects whether you're smoking or not in that crowd.
Yeah. Wow, that's an understatement. Tony Schaefer, bring us home, my friend.
Oh, well, I'm usually the one.
Has got cannabis infused Timbits now.
Oh,
Not really.
that's not right. The more you eat, the more you want.
Right. See, it's just
Tim Hortons stock just went through the roof.
Yeah. All of a sudden, like a day later, you weigh 600 pounds and you're done. Like, what? How did this happen?
So I'm usually the one obsessed with time. It's almost 9 p.m. here in Chicago, which makes it 10 o'clock on the East Coast and 8 o'clock on the West Coast. You guys know what time it is in Canada?
4:20.
It's 4:20 in Canada.
Oh, another joke. Yes.
And there's your show title.
I'm here till Thursday.
It's always 4:20 in Canada.
It's always 4:20 in Canada. That's your show title for tonight's show right there.
Well, thank you very much. As always, I want to thank my friends who are on the show, who I love doing the show with, and I hope all of you watching and listening love seeing them. Mr. Mark Coughlin, Mr. Tony Schaefer, Dr. Evan Fusco, and of course, Mr. Paul Guzik. We want to send out our condolences to our friend and friend of the show, Lee Moon, who lost his father this week. He is a huge supporter and always has been. Thank you for that, Lee. And of course, our thoughts are with you in this time. As always, I want to thank Michael Manring for our theme music. Visit him at manthing.com. You can visit us at a number of different social media locations. Usually it's just What Drives Us. So facebook.com/What Drives Us, youtube.com/What Drives Us. We're What Drives Us on Twitter. Who would have thought all three of those things, just What Drives Us? We're easy to find. All you have to do, stop by the YouTube page, maybe hit that subscribe button to help us out, because that is a huge, huge help. Your subscriptions do help the show, and they cost nothing. So thank you very much for that. All I want to say is thanks to the chat room.
Thanks, guys.
It's always 4:20 in Canada. That's beautiful. Everybody have a good week. Tune in next week and find out what drives us. Oh, was kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Like Michael was shy. See you next week.
All right. See ya.
Woo, 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 woo. Just look out for the big fog coming from Canada. Those of you up north.
Blow it towards Missouri.